men together. 25 minutes, 3 wins, LCS.
We have ourselves a second new team, ladies and gentlemen. It is KMT. Welcome to NA, and they sweep their way into the LCS.
Congratulations, guys. Give it up for Team Curse.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 2014 LCS Preview Show. We are excited to be here, and we are your hosts, Rivington Bism III and Joshua Jat Leesman. I think one of the most things that I am excited about is that we get to rep 2 new studios here, and the participation of the fans is going up by the tens of the thousands potentially over the course of the season that they get to come and watch the shows.
If we take a look at where we came all the way from last year to 2 years ago to 3 years ago, I mean, the places we're going are really exciting.
All right, so coming up in just under 30 minutes, the 2014 European LCS Spring Split kicks off with 6 huge games.
Yeah, all 8 teams take to the Rift today, beginning with the battle of the preseason favorites as the Summer Split champs Fnatic are actually going to take on the reunited Gambit.
And then on Friday, the 2014 NALCS split kicks off with 6 huge games of their own. The season takes off with a fight between the North American heroes from the Battle of the Atlantic, Meteos and Cloud9 versus Bjergsen and Team Solo Mid.
Yeah, the NALCS Spring Split launches on Friday at 12 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Central European Time.
And as you may have noticed by our schedule for the opening week of the 2014 Spring Split, this season, the European and North American League Championship Series have swapped broadcast days.
Throughout the season, our normal LCS weeks will feature the European LCS games on Thursdays and Fridays, starting at 7 p.m. Central European Time.
And that, of course, means that the North American LCS games will be kicking off on Saturdays and Sundays throughout the season at 12 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah, and as always, you can head over to lolesports.com for a full breakdown of the schedule throughout the year.
And now that you know when to tune in, let's send it across the Atlantic to Cologne, Germany, where D-Man and Quickshot are going to join us for a quick look at the European LCS. What's going on, guys?
Thank you very much, Riv and Jat, and it is awesome to be able to talk to you guys live as well. I am, of course, Lee D-Man Smith, and alongside me, once again, is Trevor Quickshot Henry. It is finally time to start talking about the 2014 season of the European LCS.
Yeah, we're going to break down all 8 teams in just a second, but I really have to emphasize, they're on the other side of the world, we're here, and we're talking to each other. This is freaking awesome.
This is awesome. Of course, now let's take a look at the 8 teams that are vying for the Spring Split crown. The 4 teams that qualified thanks to their Season 3 performance are Fnatic, Gambit Gaming, Alliance, and Millennium, the team that were formerly known as Alternate.
And of course, joining them are the 3 teams that locked down their spot in the Spring Promotion Tournament. The Copenhagen Wolves, SK Gaming, and Roccat, the team that was named KMT when they shocked the Ninjas in Pajamas. And then, of course, there is the super hot crew, who earned their place in the LCS after winning a best-of-3 series last weekend against Meet Your Makers to actually take the Lemon Dog spot.
So, of course, they are the 8 teams, but as you guys may be aware, there has been a hell of a lot of player movement amongst those teams. Let's talk about them.
Well, we're going to break them down with each individual team, and I think the most recent development is also one of the most disappointing ones. The Lemon Dogs went from finishing first in the regular season of the Summer Split and earning a trip to Worlds to non-existence. It all started with the departure of the 5 players from the World Championship team. Then their new replacement roster was crushed in the Battle of the Atlantic. And following all of this, the Lemon Dogs failed to submit a finalized and valid roster with all necessary paperwork by the league deadline, which actually meant they forfeited their spot. And it is a tragic story for one of the best teams of the European LCS from the Summer Split.
And of course, 3 of those Lemon Dog players ended up at Ninjas in Pajamas, who were hoping to win their way back into the LCS through the Spring Promotion Tournament. They got to choose which challenger team they wanted, and they chose to face KMT. And that proved disastrous for Ninjas in Pajamas.
Yeah, it was an understatement of note. KMT shocked everybody. All of the casters, the teams, they swept NIP 3-0 and earned that spot in the LCS. Well, they'll actually be competing here today under a new name, calling themselves Roccat.
Yeah, and of course, another new team this year's LCS Spring Split is Alliance. And of course, while the name is new, you may well recognize several of the players.
Just a few of them. The core of the team started with Froggen and Wicked. They acquired their old team's LCS spot, and they actually joined forces with former Lemon Dog AD carry Tabs. They also roped in the Copenhagen Wolves jungler Shook to form what is considered the super team.
Yes.
And at Battle of the Atlantic, Kazmich played support for them, but it's actually going to be NIF, who is their starting support for 2014 and throughout the spring split, who of course played for SK last year.
And of course, there was a lot of hype leading up to the Battle of the Atlantic, and they certainly lived up to it. They dispatched of Dignitas, I think is a PC way of saying it. I think destroyed would probably be more realistic. Of course, however, there was one more team that did not live up to the hype leading into the Battle of the Atlantic, and that was the European champions, Fnatic.
Yeah, well, Fnatic had a great Season 3. They won the spring and summer splits. They made it to the semi-finals of Worlds, and like you've highlighted, once Worlds ended, it kind of went downhill a little bit.
Yeah, and of course, this is the season that they've added the AD carry, the Phenom, Reckless, the man that's been waiting a year to join the fold. And honestly, it's a team that dominated Europe. Can they be even stronger?
Well, they have to prove it. You know, they ran into a lot of problems during Battle of the Atlantic. They got swept by Cloud9. They didn't look on point at all. And Cloud9 is the same team that they beat at Worlds. So with this addition of the Phenom, not really working out so far.
And finally, of course, we have to talk about the team that is considered to be the strongest team in Europe right now. It is the men in suits, Gambit Gaming.
Yeah, Gambit is back together once again. This is the team that dominated Europe under the name Moscow 5, and they've continued their winning ways. They crushed at IAM Cologne, they dominated at XTG in the Battle of the Atlantic, and they're playing the first game here against Fnatic today.
And of course, that is our view of what is going to be happening throughout this season. But now let's take a pro's view, because joining us is the new member of Alliance, Nif.
Hello, everyone.
I'm great to have you here, Nif, to start with. How are things going in Alliance? Obviously, you've joined, you've got a new AD carry alongside you. How's the team gelling coming into the 2014 season?
So far, it's really going good. We have been in the gaming house for 2 weeks now, and things working out really good so far. Scrims going good. We had even trouble to find some scrims that one day, so we will see.
Talk to us a little bit about Tabs now. You know, you've been playing with Candy Panda for such a long time. Now you're changing to new AD carry. How has it actually been adjusting to his play style?
Actually, the playstyle is pretty similar. Both play kind of the same carries, can pretty much play every carry they want. So they play the carries that fit the meta, so they play the same. And also the playstyle they have, if you give them some kills, they can actually carry from the bot lane. And if they snowball, it's really easy to win the games.
And in terms of strength, you know, obviously you guys have been having a lot of scrims. You just talked about how you weren't able to get one day. I did see how that worked out, but you continued to build team synergy. In terms of teams you've been playing, how do you judge Alliance Source sitting in amongst them all?
I think we will be the strongest team, to be honest.
Ooh, strong words. So let's look at the other 7 then, who you're basically saying are fighting for second. How do you rate other teams like Gambit, like Millennium as well, or even teams like Copenhagen Wolves? Who should we as the viewers be looking out for?
I still guess that Fnatic and actually only Gambit will be really hard. All the other teams, it's really hard to judge right now because a lot of teams has changed. We haven't scrimmed all games. We will play like against 4 teams actually, so we don't want to scrim them before. But what we saw, that they all have pretty much the same, and really depends on how the games go here.
And obviously you were in the Battle Atlantic yourself. You weren't part of Alliance, but you saw all the teams performing. How do you judge Europe versus America right now? How do you see any of the big American teams? Because of course you got Bjergsen gone over and joined TSM and made them stronger.
Yeah, we lost, unfortunately, 2 European players to NA. I still think we are stronger overall. It was kind of unlucky with the battle that they won the 2 games with 3 and 2 points. So it can change a lot.
Well, if you were to redo some of those matchups now, you know, talking about the like Gambit, Vulcan, things like that, how do the American teams level up their game? Because we've seen so many one-sided squashes from everybody. What do they have to do on this patch to actually level it up?
I think a lot of passive rooming to do in this patch, and play aggressive jungle. So if you get this, I think the games are still pretty snowbally. So if you get the early advantage, you can just snowball. It just takes longer to finish the games actually.
And finally, of course, moving into the LCS spring split, what is your predictions? Do you put yourselves at number 1? Do you see anyone else challenging you?
I put us at first, and after all, everyone can be second.
Well, thank you very much, Nif. It's great to have you here, and best of luck with the games, obviously, that are going to be coming up. So, we've asked the pro players' predictions. We want to know, Trevor, I'm going to put you on the spot. What is your prediction for the 2014 spring split?
I hate these loaded questions because there's so much to answer, but I think the obvious answer is that Alliance and Gambit is most likely going to be 1 and 2 for the spring split. I think that looking at Fnatic and Millennium will be my 3 and 4, And the teams to keep an eye out for to challenge things up will be the likes of the Copenhagen Wolves, maybe KMT also, who are playing under the name Rocket. So that's going to be my top 6.
Okay, well, we'll see whether history reproduces itself. Obviously, Fnatic versus Gambit in that spring split last year. And with that, we've got to prepare for the opening day of the European spring split. That's kicking off in just under 15 minutes time, ladies and gentlemen. So now let's send it back over to Los Angeles to Rivington and Jan.